Donald Trump gave the commencement address at the University of Alabama yesterday, was invited by the leaders of this university to ostensibly give an inspiring, encouraging speech to its new graduates. Who would be stupid enough to think that Donald Trump would provide that to your eager, like baby birds looking for a meal from their mama, that they would provide this? It was a bizarre scene. I mean, even the makeup of the crowd behind Donald Trump, you got two people that conspicuously could pass as J.D. Vance impersonators. But Donald Trump, as expected, this should come as no shock, no surprise to anyone, turned this into a campaign rally to these new graduates who are there to eagerly hear from the President of the United States words of encouragement, or at the very least, inspiration, right? That is not what they got. They got a retribution-filled screed, a conspiracy theory-laden speech that talked about not believing we owe anyone due process, which is just antithetical to the Constitution at the basest of levels. He talked about vilifying migrants and corrupt judges that go against him, and of course, hits on the fake news media. It's just all just a replay, and should have been expected by the leaders, the people who run the University of Alabama, which is just apparently at this point just an abject joke. Anyway, watch this first moment. I have three clips. I only think I'm going to get to two of them, but watch this, where he really just proves how ignorant he is about the most basic things.
And you've seen it, hundreds of thousands of people pouring into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, from gangs, and all over the world, not just in South America. You'd see hundreds of thousands of people pour across in one day. You know what we had just recently? Three. And we slashed the number of illegal aliens released into the United States by 99.999%. And you know, if that number's wrong, the fake news, which is all over the place today, is going to be correcting me before I get to the next sentence. Now, 99.999%, how about that? Nobody thought that was possible. They said you needed legislation. No, you just needed a new president. That's what you needed. But despite the tremendous success, as you've been reading, the courts are trying to stop me from doing the job that I was elected to do. We won by millions of votes. We won all 7 swing states, 7 out of 7. We won 312 electoral college votes. They said, 270 would be great. We won 312, and 2,750 counties versus 525 counties throughout the nation. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red. It's all red. Every inch of it is red, a little couple of blue dots. But they have to let us do the job that the voters want us to do. Judges are interfering, supposedly based on due process, but how can you give due process to people who came into our country illegally? They want to give them due process. I don't know.
So first of all, the courts are trying to stop me from doing the job I was elected to do. We won by millions of votes. It does not matter in a constitutional republic, Donald Trump, if you won all the votes, if you got 100% of the hundreds of millions of votes that were cast, or however many, 150 or so million votes that were cast. It doesn't matter if you got all of them. We are ruled by the Constitution and the laws set forth therein. We are a country of laws. But you probably don't know that, being a convicted felon and all. You don't really have much concern or respect for the law. We won 312 electoral college votes. They said, 270 would be great. We went 312. 270 is the number you need to reach to win the presidency. It's not, oh yeah, it would be great. That's what's required to win. Donald Trump is such an abject dumb shit about the most basic of civics lessons that he's there invited and he's providing nothing. But really, reversing the education of the students who just graduated. We went 312 and 2,750 counties versus 525 counties throughout the nation. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red. It's all red. Every inch of it is red. A couple of blue dots. And that, I think that was met by cheers, was it not? As though they also don't understand how the elections work. Listen, land doesn't vote. I grew up in a county in northern Idaho called Clearwater County. It's a pretty massive swath of land, right? I don't know. I'll find some screenshots and we'll do that. Let me write that down, screenshots. I bet you there's 10, maybe 11,000 people in the county in which I was raised, where I went to high school. And it's a massive swath of, compared to, like, let's say, Orange County, California, I would venture to say the county I grew up in is bigger land mass. It's very close, probably. Again, this is just out of my head. And there are millions of people who live in Orange County, California, where I used to live. Millions versus 10,000 in my home county. That's the thing he's talking about here. We won 2,750 counties. Yeah, who cares when nobody fucking lives in the counties you won, Donald Trump? Land doesn't vote. When you look at the map and it's all red, it's because the western part of our country is rural and in some cases, completely uninhabited. No one lives there. Scant, just a few people. Versus LA County, which, I don't know, 20 million people live there, probably. Donald Trump is a dumb shit who has very little understanding, very little functioning understanding of how our elections work, about what the Electoral College does, about where the popular vote counts. None of this he knows. Yet, he's invited by the University of Alabama to give this address, where he propagandizes and lies and spreads conspiracy theories. But how can you give due process, he says, to people who came into our country illegally? They want to give them due process. I don't know. Maybe that's the most accurate statement Donald Trump has ever made. I don't mean the rest of it, but the last of it. I don't know, period, Donald Trump said. I don't know, exclamation point, he says. That's accurate. You don't know, Donald Trump. You are a dumb shit. You are stupid. A stupid, stupid man, an ignorant man who lacks all intellectual curiosity about the world around him and about the country he lives in and leads. How can you, when he says, but how can they give due process to people who came into the country illegally? How can you prove they are here illegally without due process, Donald Trump? Are we still supposed to take your word for it? Do we take the word of a convicted felon, of a fraudster, of a criminal, of a liar? Is that who we take the word of? We're just supposed to take your word for it. That's why we have due process. That's why we are a nation of laws. That's why the Constitution matters. The same Constitution to which you took an oath to faithfully execute the office of the presidency that you're not doing. Next up is a moment where he almost did it. He almost gave an inspiring little section of speech, almost gave something encouraging about what they could be looking forward to. But what's funny about it is it's all predicated on promises that he made during the campaign that he promised would be immediate changes to the profitability and the prosperousness of this country. Now it's all off in the distance kind of stuff. Soon it's going to be great. Soon America will be great again. Yeah, it's a lot to look forward to. Fantastic. Watch this moment.
This is the golden age. We've done things that nobody thought possible. 100 days yesterday, 100 days, and we've done things that nobody thought even possible. Like many generations before you, you're graduating at an exciting time for our nation, a period of both extraordinary change and incredible potential and what will be unbelievable growth. You're going to see that very soon. You're going to see it starting very, very soon. The whole world is talking about it.
It's a stark difference, is it not? I know I keep talking about this, but it is a stark difference between in 24 hours, prices are going to come down. I'm going to change. It's going to be a whole different country as soon as I'm elected. In some things, about some things, he promised change before he even took office. Yet now all the economic boom times they're somewhere just over the horizon. Soon, he says. It will be unbelievable growth. You're gonna see that very soon. You're gonna start seeing it very, very soon. The whole world is talking about it. Not to mention the fact that he repeated the first line twice, because I guess he forgot that he had just said it. I don't know. Anyway, we're in dire straits here, and universities need to stop placating Donald Trump, even the wildly conservative ones like the University of Alabama. I said the other day, talking about Caitlin Collins, that she got her start at Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson's founded outfit, and then she also was a graduate of the University of Alabama. And people push back. You can't say that about university. It's not conservative. Yeah, tell me again how the University of Alabama is not conservative, inviting Donald Trump and listening to the hoops and hollers of the freshly graduated dipshits who are nothing but cult adherents. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can click below and talk about it in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.